The night had a strange stillness to it, the kind that settles over a neighborhood long after everyone has gone to sleep. I was sitting in my room, scrolling through my messages, pretending I wasn't bothered by the silence inside my own home. My partner had fallen asleep hours earlier after another small argument that we didn't even bother resolving. We had been living like that lately, side by side, yet miles apart. I kept telling myself it was normal, that every relationship goes through phases, but the loneliness was beginning to feel permanent. That was when my phone buzzed that IT was my neighbor, the quiet African guy who had moved in a few months ago. We had talked only a handful of times, but there was something about him I could never quite explain. He had this calm warmth, this steady presence that made people feel safe. His message was simple, almost hesitant. If you're awake, could you come over? I need to talk. For a minute, I just stared at the screen. It was late, far past the hour for casual drop-ins. I could still hear my partner breathing softly in the other room. I should have ignored it. I should have put the phone down and gone to sleep. But the truth was, I was craving connection. Any kind of connection that didn't feel forced or strained. Before I could stop myself, I typed, "I'm awake. I'll come." The walk across the yard felt longer than usual. The air was cool enough to raise goosebumps, but warm enough that the walk felt strangely soothing. His porch light was on, dim and yellow. The moment I knocked softly on his door, he opened it as if he had been standing right there. That he looked tired, but relieved to see me. "Sorry it's late," he murmured. "I just didn't want to be alone." I nodded, stepping inside. His house smelled faintly of something warm, maybe tea, maybe incense. It felt different from mine, calmer, softer, like a place where people actually talked instead of avoiding each other, that we sat at his small dining table. At first, we made small talk, the kind of aimless conversation people use when they're trying to find the courage to say something real. But slowly, the walls started falling. Maybe it was the late hour. Maybe it was the quiet. Maybe it was the way he listened, really listened, without interrupting, without judging, without turning everything into a debate. He told me about the strain of moving to a new country, the loneliness, the pressure of trying to fit in. I found myself opening up too, telling him things I hadn't even said out loud to my partner. How disconnected I felt, how I missed being understood, how tiring it was to pretend things were fine. Every time I paused, he held eye contact, gentle, patient, steady. I wasn't used to that anymore. I wasn't used to being heard, that at some point, the conversation shifted. Not drastically, just a tiny pull like gravity changing direction. He leaned forward slightly, elbows on the table. I noticed, but I didn't pull back. He didn't touch me, didn't cross any line, but something in the air changed. It wasn't anything physical. It was emotional. A door opening in a place neither of us had acknowledged until that moment. "You seem unhappy," he said quietly. "Not because of me, but in general." I breathed out a laugh, though it wasn't funny. "You're not wrong." He hesitated. I could see him choosing his words carefully. "You deserve someone who notices you." The sentence hit deeper than he probably intended, because it wasn't about romance or desire. It was about being seen, being valued, being understood. Things I used to feel in my relationship, but no longer did. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't awkward. It was charged but gentle, like something waiting to happen, but not sure if it should. He looked down at his hands, then back at me. "I'm sorry if I said too much." "You didn't," I said quietly. "You actually said what I needed to hear." His eyes softened, and I felt myself soften in return. That was the first time I realized how dangerous the night had become. Not because he had done anything wrong, but because I had finally admitted to myself how vulnerable I was, and how much I wanted someone to catch me when I was falling. The silence between us stretched, soft but heavy, like a question neither of us dared to ask. I looked away first, not because I wanted to, but because his eyes held too much honesty, too much warmth. It was overwhelming. I wasn't used to being seen so clearly by anyone, especially not someone who had barely known me for a few months. He stood up slowly and walked to the kitchen counter, pouring 2 glasses of water. His hands trembled slightly, not enough to be obvious, but enough that I noticed. When he came back, he placed a glass in front of me and sat down again, a little closer than before. Not close enough to touch, but close enough that I could feel the heat of his presence. "Can I ask you something?" he said quietly. That I nodded, unsure. "Are you happy?" "Really happy?" The question shouldn't have shaken me, but it did. It felt like someone had walked straight into the room where I kept all the truths I avoided and flicked on the lights. I swallowed, staring at my hands. "I don't know," I admitted. "I think I used to be. But now everything feels distant, like I'm living next to my life, not inside it." He listened with his full attention, the kind of focus I hadn't experienced in so long that it felt foreign. He didn't interrupt, didn't try to fix me. He just let me talk. And I found myself saying more than I meant to about the arguments at home, about the growing silence, about how I kept pretending the bond was still there. When I finished, he looked at me with a softness that made my chest tight. "You deserve to feel alive," he said, "not trapped." A strange warmth spread through me, unfamiliar and dangerous. I didn't know how to respond. Instead, I looked at him, really looked, and realized that this night wasn't just a conversation anymore. It had turned into something deeper, something that neither of us had planned. That he leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. "I didn't ask you to come so you could tell me all this," he said. "I just wanted company tonight. But hearing you talk like that, it makes me want to protect you." My breath caught. Protection. Care. Words I had been craving without admitting it. "What about you?" I asked, voice low. "Are you happy?" He didn't answer immediately. He got up again, walked to the sliding door that looked out into his quiet backyard, and let the night breeze drift inside. Then he spoke without turning around. "I came here hoping a new place would fix the loneliness," he said. "But loneliness doesn't disappear just because you change where you sleep." There was something in the way he said it, soft, vulnerable, that made me stand up and walk toward him without thinking. I stopped beside him, leaving just enough space to step away if things felt wrong. But they didn't. He glanced over, meeting my eyes in the dark reflection on the glass. "I didn't think I'd find someone who understood that," he said. "I didn't think so either," I whispered. He didn't move. I didn't move, but the space between us felt like it was dissolving on its own. My heart was beating faster than it should have. I wondered if he could hear it. "Can I be honest?" he said, barely above a whisper. "Please," I said. He turned to face me fully, his expression raw. "I wanted to talk to you like this for a long time, but I didn't want to cross any line. I didn't want to make you uncomfortable." "You're not," I said, and I meant it more than I expected. "Good," he said, voice low. "Because you matter, more than you think." A pull formed between us, gentle but undeniable. He lifted his hand slightly, as if tempted to reach for mine, then stopped himself at the last second. The restraint made it even more intense. "If I ask you something," he murmured, "promise you'll answer honestly." I nodded. "Do you want to stay tonight?" My breath stalled, not because of what he asked, but because of everything behind the question. The loneliness we both recognized, the connection we weren't supposed to feel, the comfort we both desperately needed. That I should have stepped back. I should have said no. But the truth was a quiet, dangerous thing inside me. "Yes," I whispered before I could stop myself. He exhaled, relief washing across his face. He didn't touch me. He didn't rush anything. Instead, he simply opened the door to the quiet room at the end of the hallway, waiting for me to follow if I chose to. And I did, knowing exactly what crossing that threshold meant, and knowing I wouldn't be the same once I stepped inside. Morning light always exposes the things night helped you hide. I learned that the moment my eyes opened in his quiet room. The air felt different, warmer, softer, but my chest felt heavy. Not because I regretted being there, but because I knew what it meant. I lay there for a moment, listening to the distant sounds of the neighborhood, waking up. It felt unreal, like the world outside had no idea what I had done, what I had crossed, who I had become overnight. He stirred beside me, not fully awake, just shifting slightly, enough to let me know he could feel my presence. His voice was low, rough with sleep. "You okay?" I nodded, though my answer felt too small for the weight inside me. "Yeah, I think so." He opened his eyes slowly, studying my face with an expression that was neither regretful nor triumphant, just honest. "You don't have to say anything yet," he murmured. "I just want to know you're all right." There was comfort in that, but also fear, because he wasn't pushing me. He wasn't asking for promises or explanations. He was simply there, steady and uncomplicated, while my mind was tangled in knots. After a few minutes, I got up quietly, slipping into my clothes, aware of how loud every movement felt in the stillness. He sat up, watching me, but not stopping me. There was gentleness in his eyes, the kind that makes leaving harder. "You don't have to rush," he said. "I know. But if I stay too long, I won't be able to leave at all." He nodded, understanding more than I expected. He walked me to the door, not touching me, not reaching out, just letting me go in the same quiet way the night had let me walk in. Stepping outside felt like stepping back into another version of myself. The grass was damp beneath my shoes. The air smelled of early morning dew, fresh and innocent, nothing like the storm inside me. As I crossed the yard toward my house, my stomach twisted. My home looked exactly the same as it had the night before. Same curtains, same porch, same stillness, but I wasn't the same. When I opened the door, the living room was dim. My partner was still asleep, one arm draped over the empty side of the bed. Seeing them like that, peaceful, unaware, sent a sharp ache through me. Guilt, yes, but also something else. Sadness, loss. The feeling of standing in a place that was once warm but had gone cold without anyone admitting it. That I sat on the edge of the bed quietly, staring at the floor. I didn't dare touch them. Not yet. I didn't know how. For the next few hours, I moved through the day like a ghost. Making tea, sitting on the couch, pretending to check my phone, pretending everything was normal. But my mind kept drifting back. His voice, the way he looked at me, the honesty in his quiet questions that tea wasn't just last night. It was everything that had led to last night. Around midday, my phone buzzed. My heart jumped before I even looked. His message was simple. "I hope you're okay. Last night wasn't a mistake, but I don't want to hurt you." I stared at the words for a long time. They didn't pressure me. They didn't pull me. They simply acknowledged the truth. Something real had happened, and we both knew it. Later that evening, my partner approached me in the living room. "You've been distant today," they said softly. Not accusing, just observant, in a way we had stopped being with each other. That I swallowed hard. "I've been thinking about us," they asked, and I nodded. They sat beside me, staring ahead at the blank TV screen. "I know things haven't felt right lately," they said. "I feel it too. I just didn't know how to say it." That honesty cut deeper than anything else. It wasn't anger. It wasn't blame. It was two people finally admitting what they had ignored for too long. "I don't know what happens next," I whispered. "Neither do I," they said. "But maybe we should stop pretending everything is fine." We didn't argue. We didn't cry. We didn't fix anything. We just sat there in the quiet, acknowledging the truth between us, a truth I should have faced before the night that changed everything. Later, I stepped outside for some air. From where I stood, I could see both houses. Mine, full of history and silence, and his, warm with the possibility of something new. Two worlds side by side, waiting for me to choose that I didn't choose that night. I couldn't. Everything felt too fragile, too raw. But as I stood there, the memory of his voice drifted back. "You deserve to feel alive." And for the first time in a long time, I realized how much I wanted that, whether with him or alone or somewhere in between. The night had changed everything, even if no one ever knew.